All right, welcome, folks. Sunday morning, and we have a beautiful topic for today's discussion. We have shares today, and a very interesting topic, which I am like super excited to hear about. Quick introduction about Shreyas. He is one of the core builders that I know. He has built like a ton of side projects. If you just go to his website, shreyasprakash.com, you'll find like more than 20. I think those are just listed, and I'm pretty sure he has like 40, 60, 100 more in his head. And I don't know how many else he has been enabling through his community work. And yeah, so I think all of you know shares already. So we'll not go deep into that. We'll start with today's session. So what we're going to do is we're going to I have a few questions in place. So we're going to go through them one by one. And feel free to drop questions in between wherever you feel. If you have any questions, don't wait for the end. You can just ask then and there. And yeah, we'll open for more Q&A at the end. So that is about it. Let's start. So hello, good morning, Shreyas. Thanks for doing this. Super excited for the session. Let's start. So let's start with a quick demo of what um, PromptHero is all about, and what's the output that we're promising with the product. Maybe you can share some screen if you show a quick demo. Let's start with that.
Yeah. I'll first talk about the problem and then I'll show the demo so that makes more sense. Um, well, we have a lot of tools right now. We can go into why the tools and what the tools mean, but with respect to these AGI tools, I'm talking specifically about, say, Mid-Journey, Stable Diffusion, DALI. I will show some examples from each of these later, but the thing is, you can create wonderful art in no time, right? It's almost as if you are replacing the graphic designers in some way or other. Or maybe if you have like very short span of time and you want to create like stellar artwork, you can still do this with these tools. Now, the thing is that even though you have these tools, it is still up to you to make good prompts, which means you need to give it an input, right? An AI can't just read your mind. So you need to give it a good input so that it could create an output exactly the way you imagined. So this is fascinating stuff because now with just text you can like create videos and images, but at the same time, what is the text you're going to send is a big question mark. And people are creating new jobs as well in terms of like prompt designers, where they are really uh, understanding the knack of how an AI thinks about the way to generate an output and creates a specific prompt so that the AI could create that, right? So now with prompt design, it's again a challenge, right? Like it's not just about just saying something like say a spaceship on moon, right? So you can't it cannot just stop there. You need to give it much more details, like what is the artwork, what is the aesthetic, what is the composition. So for me it was a bit of a pain point. Like it's just a personal pain point where I had to find out good modifiers, which I'll talk about it later. But basically you need to give it much more detail, right? And I used to like search in multiple websites and find some prompts or the other, and I felt like this is something which can be a very simple product, right? You can just need to have like a way to just select the modifiers and you can create the prompt and then give it to this system, or like say Mid-Journey, Stable Diffusion, or any of these tools. So this is what this product enables, and I'll just show you a quick demo. I'll just stop talking now and I'll just let the product do the talking. Yeah. All right, so this is what we had done. Yeah. So for example, I mean, let's just keep it more interactive. Would you like to like share some prompt, any of you? Or we could even do it like you could just say some random word and then we can combine it together to make some
Let's go.
sentence as well.
Maybe Pikachu on a beach.
Pikachu on a beach. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Pikachu on a beach. So I'll talk about why just inputting this to any of these tools wouldn't make sense as much as you imagine. Like for example, this is a model called as Stable Diffusion. So I'm gonna enter this here, and yeah, I'll just send the link as well if you would like to try it out. how can I set oh yeah, 1 second. Yeah. So I'm just gonna generate this image here. I'll show you what happens if I'm just like inputting this, right? Okay, it takes some time because it's I mean it's still open source, so it takes some time to generate it. But I can also
wherein you can expedite this.
I'm sorry.
Is there a paid version of Stable Diffusion where you can expedite?
Correct. Yeah. So I would, yeah, maybe we can talk about it after I kind of show the demo. There are some paid tools as well. But as you see, there is some processing time. So the same thing can also be done using another tool called DALI, which you might have already heard of for sure. I'm going to generate the same thing, Pikachu on a beach over here as well. This is slightly faster. Sorry. Okay, let's see what it has come up with. Yeah, so again, I mean, like you have some image in your mind and you're trying to see if it's exactly the way it is. So probably, right? It might be something which people, yeah, I mean, this might be a realistic version of it, right? Or this. So you have like 3-4 options which you're getting from either each of these tools. Okay, like this is what DALI has come up with, right? So I kind of like the DALI style. It seems to be much more descriptive of what I had imagined as well. But then it doesn't stop here, right? Like you might have to add more modifiers here. So I'll just talk about how this product PromptHero comes into picture. Now, let's say you're trying to add more modifiers. So Pikachu on a beach, but right, there are some things you can add on top of it as well. For example, what is the emotion, right? Let's say it's a positive mood, high energy, which is the emotion you want. What structure? Maybe like big and structured. What is the rendering, right? Like, do you want it to be like shot on IMAX 70 mm? What vibes do you want? Like cyberpunk, vaporwave, gothic. Let's just to choose a random style just for reference. And in this way, there are like so many modifiers. So what I'm showing is the paid version of it. Let's say, okay, I can even choose the art style, right? Like Studio Ghibli is some of the famous animation studios out there. So maybe I'll choose that style of it. And I get this modifier, which is much more descriptive, right? I'm going to copy it here and see what happens when I'm posting the same thing on these tools with this description, right? So it's like Pikachu on a beach. What to say? Positive mood, high energy, big and structured, short on IMAX, gothic fantasy, Studio Ghibli, right? So I'm going to generate this here. And I think you have a version of what was before, right? And now I'm going to show you what happens after you add these modifiers as well. And the same thing I'll also say input in the other tool to show you like what happens here as well. Yeah, so you have some pointer to start from. Let's say, I mean, this is after some details which I've added. Again, this is something which is very open-ended and it allows you to tweak these parameters. Let's also wait for this one to come. Oh, we didn't plan this for sure, yeah.
Live demos are so cool because it's like more engaging.
Yeah, it's more like you're part of the experience and it's not very structured, right? Yeah. Again, this is, I wouldn't say there is no, I'm not saying that you create better art with it. It's just that you can create what you imagine, right? And that could be good or worse. So for example, this is what it's coming up with. Like what is going on? You have no idea. But the thing is, it's kind of trying to see from the prompts you're given, right? Oh, what? Yeah, so it's like gothic fantasy. So it's like kind of getting those dark elements into the picture. Right. So you get it. So there are certain like traits which is trying to commit, like it's trying to bring it all together, and even like say short on IMAX. So it's like kind of showing a wide angle as well. and trying to incorporate some of the Studio Ghibli art forms. And now what you can do is, probably this is not what you expect, like what faltu thing is this, right? I want to actually like make it a bit better. So you can now make some variations of it, right? This is where you kind of go more and more refined with respect to what you're doing. So yeah, this is again just a teaser, but I can also like show you some things which I've made in the past. Like some things have good results as well. I wouldn't say that everything has like good results. For example, panda wearing sunglasses, and the prompts which we had like selected through PromptHero was say vaporwave, neon pink blue, aerial view, golden TV show Friends, season 3, 1997. So like one is a topic, panda wearing sunglasses, and then the aesthetic, right? Like vaporwave, and then there is the like the view, let's say an aerial view, probably, and then trying to incorporate some elements from Friends, the theme, and so on. So this is what the final outcome looks like. Yeah, I think that's like the demo.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, this is once you refine it, right? You see, it's kind of getting closer to what you had expected as well. So yeah, this is more of like iterations, tweaking this and that, and somehow getting closer to what you had imagined. Yeah.
All right, all right. Cool. This is like very interesting. I did not know you could sort of hone in on one particular thing. And yeah, I think that makes so much sense. It's like you're just strategizing in your mind. It's almost like um, so as the interactions of PMs to designers go, right? Hey, make it pop or things like that. So you can just select, okay, this is what I wanted. This is what is closest to what I had in my mind. And then you sort of go deeper into it, but without all the like long work of generating those by hand. So it's like you get a lot of, I would say, lo-fi wireframes in some sense. And then you sort of focus in on the ones that you like. Yeah, I think this is like pretty cool. All right, going, if we can go deeper into this, what is like the core of this AI art? Like how does it work? Like if you have to explain it.
Yeah.
To
I'll
like
try to
real
explain it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say I know completely the way it works, but I have some idea. So with respect to like machine learning models in general, right? Like for example, you give an input and then there is an output. Now, now the thing is, like in general, in real world scenarios, you might know what the model looks like. For example, let's say y is x plus 5, right? So if x is the input, y would be like, if x is 5, then y is 10, right? Simple as that. And you also know the model that y is x plus 5 is the model. If I'm giving x any value, this y will be this one. Correct. So this is a very basic thing which we have learned in high school math, that yeah, there is input, there is an output, and this is the model, right? Now the thing is that with respect to these AI and computer vision, machine learning, and all these tools, it's just that the model itself is not very determined. Because, for example, to give a simple example of say face detection, if I have to know that this is the face and this is the person's name, to come to that accuracy, even though you get the right output for the right input, you don't know the model exactly. It's a black box. So it's just that the more and more you are able to like find different photos of you, the black box becomes more and more accurate to kind of say that this person is say Swapnil, right? And it's a kind of like how these systems work. Now coming to the AGI model, again, there are like, this is, I'm just talking about a very top level way of defining this. There's a lot of complexity in this, but then think of say putting the whole collection of a database of a lot of images onto this. You're feeding a lot of images to the system, and from this system you are actually relating them with certain captions, right? Like for example, there was an image and this was the caption, right? Now think of like billions of images, each having a caption, and then trying to connect and make sense. So it kind of feels like the AI is thinking, but actually what's happening is kind of doing some form of pattern recognition, right? That if say, in general, if this is the thing, this would happen. So I can now make sense of the world. Now it is fed a lot of proper data. Of course, there are certain things which are removed from the data as well. Like for example, there might not be some violent content or pornographic content, just having a more cleaner data, and then trying to make that AI sense of it, right? And for example, it's also not like, for example, if you want to have a dog wearing a spacesuit, it wouldn't just take a photo of a person wearing a space suit and then remove the face and put a dog's picture, right? You see, there is much more nuance to it. It's much more intuitive the way the artwork is created. So yeah, nobody exactly knows how it works. It's just that the model seems to be accurate, and it's still a black box. But yeah, that's how I would imagine this to work as well. Yeah.
Right, right. And like there would be like a feedback loop as well, right? Wherein
Correct.
it pops up some output, and then like we zoned in on a variation, right? So it is, in a way, we are telling, or we are giving the feedback, hey, this is what we wanted, or this is what we had in our heads. And if that output or that feedback is fed back into the system, so the system knows what to surface more next time a similar condition is arises. So it's almost like how we work as a like how our brain works. Pretty.
Yeah, even for example, you have these captcha codes, right? You might have seen this where people like you are asked to kind of say which is a truck or a car or an airplane. The thing is that it might seem like, why are they doing this, and what's the point of this? Like, of course, I'm a human being. It's just that that is a feedback to the system. That the more and more it's getting the data, that if the data set is big enough, you can safely say that it is a more accurate model. So partly by our way of doing the captcha codes, it is actually improving the accuracy of the detection system, right? So similarly here, the more and more we are using these and trying to get closer to what we want, the more and more the system itself becomes accurate. So yeah, the feedback is, yeah, just adding to what you're saying, that feedback is definitely a very important step here.
All right, all right. So what's the current landscape of AI generation looks like? So we saw a couple of tools. I think there was Stable Diffusion, there was DALI. Other tools? What any trends we are seeing, as in
Yeah.
which one's the most popular, things like that. So like for someone who does not know, like how should they start with this?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just talk a little bit of what I've seen so far. I'm not an AI artist. It's just I've been curious, but from what I've understood, like it just started with, say, DALI as, say, the major breakthrough. So again, the specifically what under AI, the way in which it's used is called diffusion. The way in which, like, say, if I say a dog wearing a space suit, it's not just replacing the face, right? It's actually intuitively doing it. So that model is called as a diffusion model, and that's kind of like a technological breakthrough. Right? Now that it has happened, the pioneers here have been like OpenAI with respect to a lot of text-based models. It's just that with DALI, they are venturing into, say, image-based, like text-to-image versions, right? And now you also see Facebook having launched, say, text-to-video, which is even more crazy. That like you can just say some text and it creates a video out of it, right? So on one side you have DALI, which did the breakthrough, and then you have some other variants also. For example, Midjourney, and then you also have Stable Diffusion. These are, I think, the most followed AGIs, like AI art-based platforms. Now, with respect to the comparison or differences, the thing is that the data sets in which the model is being trained are kind of different. So what you get, right, even if it's the same output, like I have just shown you the demo, right? Even for the same input, you will probably get a different output on each of these systems. There's never like one source of truth, right? It's just that the models which are being trained are kind of different. So probably these are just like, say, tools in your toolbox, right? You can see what is kind of coming closer to what you'd imagine. So DALI, DALI 2, and then you have Facebook's like text to video, which is like just coming up right now. I'm not sure what the name is. Stable Diffusion is an open source version of it. So technically, if you've used Figma, I mean, I thought of having that link as well, but I couldn't really do it in time. But basically, to just give an example of how crazy it is, just talking about what you said, right? Like as a PM, you want to communicate things, but you are at a low frame, like low fidelity wireframe level, but you don't want to make it like production worthy because that's a job of a designer. But what really connects a bridge between that low fidelity and high fidelity? So very simple things, like for example, you just use a pencil and draw an outline on Figma, right? Of let's say a shoe. You just like trying to show this is how the shoe looks like. You're just drawing the outline, and then you give these modifiers, right? Like the way I showed for PromptHero, we give these modifiers for it to understand this is the style, right? And then based on the outline, it actually fills it with a kind of a shoe which best describes it. So I see this more as a bridge between low fidelity and high fidelity when it comes to production. Uh, but yeah, it's also much more than that. It's, I think, a tipping point in terms of what it can do with respect to all this. Yeah.
For sure. I can already imagine like this particular use case wherein getting more clarity from any client, because like when what they have in their heads versus what they really want is like sometimes very different. They might say something that feels or sounds good, but then when they actually see, they feel like, oh no, this is something like too complicated, or something they did not have in mind, and giving an initial so almost like a, it's, yeah, like you said, right? So it's somewhere between a low fidelity and a high fidelity, wherein it has a lot of details, but it is almost done as quickly as sketching. Instead of sketching, you're describing it in like, let's say, 10 different prompts, and then you just show it to a user. So yeah, lot of interesting use cases there for sure. So moving on to how, so we have discussed about, we have different products, and everything operates on prompts, right? The more better prompts you provide, that is the only input, that's the only way you influence this. There's nothing else you can do. Like we saw a variation one, but like that's again like you're giving, hey, this is one prompt, then you give me a better, some more. We have a question from Avilash. Go for it.
Not a question as such, maybe that I was just trying to see that maybe you can use an initial image to try and influence the output, because you were saying that if we want to, of course, modifiers and prompts are one thing, but how do you think about adding an initial image and then editing that image to try and get an output closer to what you have in mind?
Yeah. I mean, I just recently started exploring these tools, Abhilash. What I also noticed is you can also like upload an image on DALL-E. And also the second thing which I want to share was right now it's DALL-E has opened access. So till now it has been on waitlist, but just recently, like in a day or two, they have opened the access for everyone. So feel free to try out DALL-E as well, because I think their model seems to be quite nice compared to the other ones. Midjourney is also nice. I can share the link. So they have a Discord community. It's just that you need to go to a channel and then put the prompt and then you see it. So it's crazy how you can also put a prompt and see how other people are also getting their results out, right? So they've kind of done a nice way of integrating the community part as well. Feel free to try out their Midjourney Discord and like go to one of these channels. There is an introduction channel where they kind of outline the steps to use it. Coming to your part, Abhilash, in terms of uploading an image, on DALL-E, you have an option. Let's say I share an image and then I kind of remove a portion of that image, right? And then ask the AI to complete it using some prompts. That is also possible. So it's crazy. Like you can probably like replace a person's face with some other animal or whatever, right? So there are like a lot of things which could be done. Of course, I have not explored as much, but I was just like testing out them initially because I just recently got access to DALL-E. The waitlist has been for a long time. And now it seems to be like open for everyone to access.
Yeah, same. I think I have been on the wait list as well, but I just signed up today from your link, and then I got some access, and yeah, looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So we moving on. So we're talking about the prompts is like difficult to write because because you can't really remember. Like there are like hundreds of nuances in what you can do. So you want to like maybe talk about how was the build process of PromptHero, and like how's the experience? How was it derived from your experiences and pain points?
So first of all, yeah, I think Alex is also here. I just want to give a shout out to Alex. He kind of to just share the experience of what we did. We did this in a day, 24 hours, max 26 hours. Let's put it as that. And it was in the morning. We just sat and we discussed, let's do something. We had this idea and then we just started building. I did the UX and he did the front end, and it just got done, right? And it was crazy how fast it was done. Although it's not a very complex thing as well, it's just that we were just sitting and very intense to just do it. And we also went on to launch it on Product Hunt, and that's a different story altogether. But coming back to the build process itself, we identified that there are like various corners on the internet where they have shared these prompts, right? There are certain websites where you can see what the prompt was for a particular image. Let's say, oh, you see like some crazy art, and then it gives this very like maybe like 3-4 lines of prompts, right? Like it's that big and like crazy. So people are actually designing good prompts. And in fact, there is this site, I forgot the name. It's called Prompt Base or something, where it's actually a marketplace for prompts. So people are selling prompts for $1. It's crazy. So then I realized that if people are actually paying so and so for prompts, then it means there is a market for people to make good prompts, right? And although what we kind of felt was it need not be like just selling the prompts, because it's more like you're not giving them enough flexibility to create something on their own, right? What will they do with the prompt? They'll just gonna input it and get some result. For that, if you're giving them some amount of customization, it would make much more sense than just giving some package prompts, right? So we realized that there is a market for prompts, but at the same time, the way in which people were doing it was felt to be broken. There could be much more way. Hello?
Hey, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just lost the connection.
Yeah.
Hey, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, just like, so what we then did was we tried to find the labels. For example, I'll just share a screen. So if you see this is a site called Aesthetics Wiki. Okay. It's pretty cool because if you see here, it has the list of, oh, what is where is this? Just a second. Yeah, so there is this list of aesthetics page, quite cool. And it talks about all kinds of aesthetics in the planet, right? You might have even not heard of many of them. Like Bohemian is something which you might have heard of, and there is a style to being a Bohemian, right? And like what kind of dress, which means Bohemian. So this was fascinating because, like, yeah, aesthetics itself is a kind of a good prompt. And how would people even remember any of these? Like there are some random things like bubble goth or gothic and stuff, right? So just realize that, yeah, this is a good label to have, right? In the model which we're creating. Like for example, here in PromptHero, yeah, you do see all these. Okay, there are a lot of them. We'll not go into the details of it, but yeah. So coming into vibes, right? So there are like things which we kind of added from this database, and this was one amongst them. And there were like other things which talks about, say, photography, right? When it comes to photography, there is like, say, short on IMAX or wide angle macro lens. So these are also good prompts. So that was also easily pullable from a couple of websites as well. So we just tried our best to first create like, say, an Excel first of all to have the backend, right? Where we know that these are the modifiers and how to arrange them. So first we started arranging these prompts, and it was also like some of them are easily available, just that they were all like scattered, right? So we did our best to do that, and then we like, say, used it as a backend for setting up the website, and it was done. but yeah, like this was the day one, right, where we did this and we just like launched it. So the only thing is that it didn't really go well on product hunt. So what happened was there was another product called PromptHero, which was also on product and which we never realized. And it was not doing the same thing, but somewhat related to prompts, right? So I mean, let's say that bot would have thought that this is a scam, or maybe it is just like repetitive. So it didn't really get listed on product hunt. So then yeah, but then the primary sales, or like people who were like getting interested, were coming from Twitter. So we did get a couple of paid users and so on, and we realized that yeah, like this is good. We need to maybe like think very thoroughly when we do the next PH launch, because the name matters. Uh, because yeah, the bots will just do it without asking you if it's something which you've done as a malpractice, right? So yeah, these were some lessons which we learned while launching as well. So yeah, for a day or two, it was quite a successful thing to be done in a weekend. Yeah.
All right. You mentioned you got paid users. So how did that feel? How was that experience?
Yeah, I think when you make your first dollar online, it's always a great feeling. This is the second time I'm making using like say an info product. No, maybe yeah. I've like yeah, there are multiple other times I've made it, but this time like when like you get this email on Gumroad, like someone has purchased this, that notification feels very nice. It's a good dopamine hit. Uh, yeah, it's still like we were like quite shocked actually that people would want to have this. Uh, in fact, like one thing we try to one interesting thing which happened as a result of this is the paid users became like champions, and they were giving us very solid feedback. For example, I'm sharing my screen again. So here you see a couple of things. One is, let's say, panda wearing glasses, right? There are these modifiers, and there is a need for also we can also rearrange them. The reason is that even the order of the prompt matters. That's how the AI interprets that the one which is
All
at the
right.
end, right? It's probably like the least weightage,
Interesting.
right? So this was like, I mean, that means that there's definitely a need for this, right? Like, how would you even like imagine it and think through and structure the prompt? So this was also coming from a user feedback that they wanted some kind of customization to reorder the prompts. Another thing which we found, like Alex was looking into analytics, that people were also felt that they were not knowing what to do. So we thought like to give them some prompts as a starter, like for example, an astronaut playing basketball, and then you have multiple other things you could select from, right? So we thought like a randomization could also help to just let them know that yeah, you don't have to like work with a blank canvas, right, to create prompts. So these were all like coming from the paid users who were like talking to us and telling us that, hey, can you add this, can you add that? So I felt like yeah, this is quite a nice approach, like launch very fast and get as much feedback from the paid users to improve the product over time.
Awesome. I thought for some reason I thought it's a bag of words model wherein the order does not matter. But okay, then this becomes
Yeah,
complicated.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
The
Okay.
first word, of course, has the highest weightage because that's the subject, right? And
Mhm.
then the other ones are like adding on top of it, and the one which is at the last has the least weightage. So that's how the thing works. So yeah, there is definitely a kind of a science or like some technique to making good prompts,
Mhm.
and we want to kind of be a step closer to that for anyone who is interested in making art. Yeah.
Yeah. That yes, Abhilash, you have a question.
Shreyas, you mentioned about the build process. When you were mentioning that, I was curious to know if there's a version 2 coming out, or do you also. So I'm trying to solve a problem about prompt base. The issue I face is that it uses only Stripe for payments, and Stripe is not available in India, so I don't have a Stripe account, which means I can't use anything on prompt base. So do you think you can build something like PromptBase specifically for India, which uses Razorpay as a payment gateway or something like that? Do you think that's on the cards, or?
Prompt base is the one with the marketplace for prompts, right? Where I buy it for $1 or something.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one.
it seems to be quite in a different direction, I would say,
Yeah.
where the point is that we are giving you the Swiss Army knife with which you can create prompts. Where what you find from prompt base is actually the outputs from generated prompts, which make kind of seems to work for certain objectives, right? So I think there's a lot more which could be done in just the modifiers itself. This is just a crappy UI, but no, I mean, in a sense, it's something which is good enough for people to get something. And I think instead of doing a feature creep, like adding more and more features, I would rather let it come organically as well. For example, the users, like, I mean, you are using it, you're using the paid version, or there are others as well who are doing that. So they are giving like proper like pain points, because if they are paid for it and they have an intention, is it really helping them reach their objective? That is step one. But can it be more 10x of what they're expecting is the second part of the question. I think the building is great. I think right now it's also about marketing and growing, which is also one of the major challenges. Um, we could have got a lot of users from US as well if the product and launch could have been successful. It's just that it never got listed on the front page of product, and even if we had launched it, and most of it was coming just from, say, the Indian like the build community and from Twitter. So we feel like if it, at least if we make this more visible, there would definitely be at least some folks out there willing to use it and pay for it as well. So that will be the next part, to distribute it well, and then get some more, do more reach outs, talk to them better, understand their pain points, and then see what happens.
Got it. On those lines, do you think having a sort of a testimonial page on PromptHero wherein this image was generated by using
Correct.
might that help? Right.
Yeah, of course it would. I think the landing page itself is not ready. We just wanted to show what it is. So probably a landing page with all these testimonials, just like how any SaaS product would do, right? At least a basic one could help us in the next step of like the marketing part. Right now, it's just more like, okay, you're now in this. What should you do, right? It's a lot of things going on. I feel like a more smoother onboarding with the landing page could also help, showing them some examples of before and after. It's also quite difficult to explain why you should use these prompts, because sometimes even just putting a basic text could also give you good outputs. It's just that I think the artists are looking for more nuance and more specific things. So that is the like the audience which we are trying to cater to. Yeah.
All right. I'll go for it.
Hey, so I love using PromptHero, by the way. Thank you for making that. I have a question, like one of the dimensions, like you said, definitely seems to be about how well you can prompt, right? Because the models are open source, like compute is generally getting cheap. So there are ways to run the model. And there may be ways to, I've been reading about that, there are ways to specialize these models for a particular vertical. So I think Levels has been talking about how you can specialize Stable Diffusion to generate images about houses, right? And then your version of Stable Diffusion is way better, but like I'm guessing there'll be like enough copies of those out there as well in the next few years where you can access those versions. Do you think like if the edge is really writing prompts, will we have these public marketplaces for prompts as much anymore? Or because I'm already noticing that the best artists on Midjourney, for example, they either pay to keep their prompts private, or they set up like a Midjourney bot in their own server so that their prompts are not as easily visible. And the same way, people can't really claim a meme anymore, right? You make a meme that goes viral and it's gone, it's out of your hand. The same way, once you put a prompt out there, it's kind of gone. So it'll be interesting. I just love to get your thoughts on how you think that this whole like as of now, everyone's just playing and they're really happy with, you know, just doing it and meeting other people who are doing it. But over time, how do you think this whole like space of public prompts will remain, or is there a use case then? I don't want to like shove in Web3 everywhere, but is there a use case for basically minting prompts on chain, so you can then claim ownership as an address, saying that, hey, I'm the first one who generated this prompt, and then whether you get a royalty or not is different, but will it actually be something people really care about?
Wow, that's a great question. And like, first of all, like, huge shout out to Aditya, because in fact he's like that. I was just giving an example just before about the person who was like sharing something, and we were actually like working on it. So he was actually like telling us on WhatsApp, like, actually this doesn't work, or this has to be this, or like probably you could do you have some feature here. So in fact, like, we were like, okay, this is something we need to like build it out then and there, right? Because we don't want the people who have actually paid for it not have the experience they had opted for. So a huge shout out for that. Coming to questions of possibilities now, like the whole, like I never even ventured into AI art just out of curiosity. It was just out of a use case. The reason was like I was creating a landing page. I needed to create some assets, and I was not getting like Indian faces doing some things. Like if you go to Unsplash or something, you always have like American faces, right? So I tried to do that, but it was just coming out very shitty, right? And then I realized that yeah, like you have some like some issues with using these tools because like the racial you can't like really define the race and then try to get results and stuff, right? So then I was like very curious. Okay, what is this thing? What are the tools available? And then started exploring and found all these. Now coming to the point of what could be the possibility after this, I see that with the Web3 space, especially um, because if you see any NFT like a PFP collection, you have a base and then you have variations, right? For example, you let's say you have pixel art of some Pokemon characters and you have like multiple of them, but all of them have a same style. Now, if you look at it on a fundamental level, the prompt would be more like a source code, right, for them. That this is the style which you're trying to capture, and there are some variants. Now, if you, the I had just shown a demo of how DALI creates a variance, right? Like you give something and then it creates some variance out of it. I see this as a similar process that it is now possible for you to also create an NFT collection by giving prompts, and which you can just vary on some level, right? So that you can create a collection, which seems to be quite a good potential, right? For example, you don't have to like get a graphic designer to create a PFP collection, and each one goes for 2, 3. Like there is scope there as well to create such collections. I see that as a possibility in the Web3 space. But there was something else which you had mentioned, Aditya. I think I missed that. Was there
Yeah,
anything
I
else?
was saying that will it basically become so important to be able to prove that you were early to a prompt, right? That people will want to mint them on chain basically, so that then it's like it's basically like a tamper-proof record, right? Of whom, like if 4 of us come and claim that this image of a panda trekking up a castle on Mars is something that we imagine, then there will be like proof on a shared database to say that this wallet address minted it first and I can prove that it's mine. Like, will these kind of use cases become? Because so far, while social media gave virality, it never really rewarded the people who initiated the memes, right? Like you had like Bachpan Ka Pyar or all these things that went viral, and then Badsha made a song about it and he paid the kid, yeah, but like you weren't able to claim cloud unless your account got the meme viral, right? But now with prompts, it's almost like a V2. Do you think people will care more about that? And this could be an interesting product, right? Where because if you do it as a platform, then there'll be 4 platforms doing it, and then you'll have to settle disputes between platform A versus platform B. Whereas if it's done on Ethereum or if it's done on a sufficiently large blockchain that is accepted, it may become the source of truth for everyone. Where okay, and then of course you can have versions of it and stuff like that, but this is one of those cases where it feels like it's important to know who did it first, who actually thought about it.
Yeah, I think I feel like this could be more inclined to say like a GitHub model of truth, or even how Figma does it, right? Like where people create some assets and others can clone the asset. Uh, you always have the original, like you always know who it's originally attributed to. Of course, you can take that, you can clone it, you can make a variation of it. So I view this at least as a first phase could probably be where it's easy for people to clone the prompts and modify it, and then eventually I think if it's really important for you to like have this on the blockchain that you are the first one to do it. Probably like once that is matured enough, it could be a possibility. But I see even Figma doing that, right? Like where it's easy for you to like clone or template on Figma and then you can modify it. You can always attribute it to the original, the same way how GitHub as well. So I see this. I mean, this could definitely be something in that sense as well. If we are trying to focus more on ownership, but I'm not at the moment very sure if that is something which the user base is really willing to pay more for, or if there's something it's their need, right? So that's something which I'm trying to understand as well. I don't have any answers at the moment.
All right. So moving to another question which I had was, since now like we're not using doing the visuals anymore, like with these prompts. So like, does it take the art out of art in some sense? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a good question. So the way I look at it is like, even right now, the digital artists, uh, so we can ask a question: are they doing art or not? Right? It's similar to that ship of Theseus, right? Where how much of it you're replacing, and is it actually original? Because it's a similar analogy here. Even the digital artists right now, they do get things from internet. They try to manipulate it and try to bring it to action, right? If you see the process, it looks more like, yeah, there are certain things which they learn how to first use the tool, and then they learn how to get inspiration from things on the internet and try to create their artwork, which you can claim it's original, but a part of it is also derivative. It's from some other source as well, right? It's just that I think with DALL-E, it has come to a point where all these hassles are not there. It just seems like the moment you think about it, you can get something which kind of exactly is the way it is, right? So I just see this as a kind of an evolution of how it is. It's never that we've always done original work, and we've always done like pure art. I don't see anything as pure art. There's always inspiration from here and there, right? And the way I look at the current form of tools is that it's still something which is providing you something as an inspiration. There would definitely, it would not replace an artist. It was just a marketing line which I'd use, but for sure there would be maybe fewer artists who have much more control, and then you have these tools, right, to help the artist make the process faster. Yeah, I think this is definitely a companion, and yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
To answer your point, I don't see anything as an original art anymore.
Right.
Everything is a derivative in some sense. Maybe it takes more time to get to the derivative. It's just that right now it is just boom, it's done, right? It's so fast to create that, and the blur, it's blurred. What is original and what is derivative at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like everything is a remix. So the
Yeah.
fast we can do
Yeah.
variations and fit in a use case. I think that's what
Correct. Yeah.
we want. All right. So like moving towards the end and talking about the future, what do you think is like where we're headed towards in terms of the AI art, and also for PromptHero, we can talk about that as well. Where do you think we're going?
So I mean, today I just used a tool and it just blew my mind with what AI could do. So just to give an analogy, that this is a thinking tool or a companion to create your artwork. Let's look at an AI as a companion. It makes a lot of sense to have a thinking tool which is kind of bringing all the entire world's data together, right, and summarizing in a way which makes sense. So what is happening now with visuals, with art, visual art, like what you see with DALL-E and stuff? It's also happening with writing. You have AI companions to aid your writing. I can give a very quick teaser, like just a 2-minute teaser to just spark some imagination. And yeah, say for example, right?
Share screens.
Sorry, can you see my screen?
I always love when people share screens.
Yeah, like I'll just give an example, right? Like, let's say cat psychology is different from human psychology. It's just totally random, just something which came to my mind. Now I can ask the AI to think with me, right? So, for example, I'm asking the AI to think with me and give me some more details about this phenomena, right? And it gives me that. So this is AI talking to me while I'm writing, while I'm journaling. So it's like one of the main difference between cat and humans is the way they form attachments. For example, cats form secure attachments, while humans form attachments by having eye contact. Additional cats show sign of separation. Wow. I mean, this is not something from like just copy pasted from Wikipedia, just to like, this is something which is the AI talking from all the knowledge available, right? And I can even ask the AI to be a devil's advocate. For example, think of something else. Anything? Would you like to like any opinion which you have? Like anyone from the audience? Like say this is this, right? Like say humans are meant to be whatever. Like, do you have any example? Anything on the chat? Okay, pineapple on pizza. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. I don't think we should have pineapple on a pizza, right? Now I'm asking the AI to be a devil's advocate, can kind of argue with me saying that we should have pineapple on pizza, right? So I'll say, okay, be my devil's advocate. Let's see what comes up. Pineapple is a fruit and therefore belongs on a pizza. Pineapple is a delicious topping that adds sweetness and flavor to pizza. Pineapple is a healthy topping that's full of vitamins and minerals. Pineapple is a classic pizza topping that has been enjoyed for people for so many years. So it's giving me like 4 points to kind of change my mind that pineapple should actually be on the pizza, right? And then I can even go on branches and say, actually, it's a fruit, but it's not a fruit, whatever, right? So, and then it even gives me more information. So you see the possibility, right? It's crazy.
Crazy.
Like you can think with an AI, you can make art with an AI, you can even make videos with an AI. It's a great companion tool. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like you have like what I'm imagining right now is like you are in Dexter's laboratory, because that is what I'm wearing. So I'm just imagining myself, I'm in the laboratory, and yeah, I'm just going on a desk, I'm seeing what are the different facts, or like they're different like minions in some ways to sort of help you out with the research on particular topics. And then you sort of like you just showed, you're asking them to, hey, make a case in favor, in against, and then based on, you are still sitting at the top, which is where you are still saying, hey, this point is important to be included. Let's say if you're writing an article or something, you're still saying, hey, this point is important enough, or maybe I want to write this or not. At the same time, hey, this is the point that addresses this. So yeah, I think like I'm super amazed by this. Like someone mentioned in the chat, I need to get back to Rome research. This is it's a
Yeah,
pretty,
this is a plugin. This is a, I mean, I think I'm very early to this plugin. Basically, it's a AI companion while you write on Room. And it was just featured yesterday. And there are just like 20 people in the world who know about this at the moment. Like 20 downloads. So, and it's crazy. Like, think about how you journal every day, right? And then it just like, okay, I mean, you don't even have to like come out of your interface or like search for Google. And in Google also, like all this SEO stuff will come. So it's not the point anymore. So you don't have to like even go out of your interface. And you have a proper thinking partner to write with, who kind of critiques you, who kind of reinforces what you want, who can even summarize what you have. So all this is like now enabled with OpenAI. So it's a plugin which kind of brings certain best parts of OpenAI to kind of use while you use Roam. But I see there is so much scope here, writing like text, video, images, right, on all fronts. Yeah.
I already have the ROI of this session, which is I'm going to download this plugin. Super cool. It solves so many of my problems, I feel, because like I'm like trying to build a writing habit nowadays, and the biggest problem that I have is starting from a blank page. And like I had a eureka moment where as soon as I saw those 4 pointers, and I was like, yes, if I have the pointers, then I can build on top of that. And it is almost like you are being presented. So the today's problem is that we live in an age of information abundance. There's every knowledge is out there, but what you need is relevant knowledge to what you're thinking, to what you want to um, write about or brainstorm in. And if someone can help bringing in only those relevant parts, and at light speed as well, right? This was like pretty quick. You can then sort of go deeper into things, and you can make associations. I think someone dropped in an article which said that AI as of today does not take a lot of risks, and which is where our value comes into picture, wherein we can associate ideas from multiple domains. We can combine that. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess we now know the answer if we need to have a pineapple on the pizza or not. So
All right. So I think from a time perspective, we're towards the end. Any questions from the audience if you want to ask away? We can take a couple. Shreyas, if you feel you want to answer something which I did not ask, you feel that okay, this would be super relevant, you can share that.
yeah. Yeah, I think if people are like really exploring new tools, like try out Roam, Obsidian, and Logsec and stuff. There are like a lot of these plugins which help you to think with AI. I can share the links or something. Since you have the email list, I can share it across. You can send it across to the people there. Also, yeah, there are people who are creating graphic novels as well. So, like, think about it. It's easy to create text. Now, also, it's easy to create summarizations of the text using OpenAI. Like anything you write, you can summarize and into a something which is succinct, and that you can feed to an DALI or something. So it's possible for you to create an AI comic book if you have a story in place. And AI can even help you to think with you on the story on a very meta level. Like you see how it is at any point in your journey, it can actually help you out.
Yeah, I think
So
it's a very cool thing would be to just provide nudges. Hey, this, you can just say, hey, this section does not have enough of attention of a conflict. Maybe you should add more, or maybe you should reduce more. Well, just give nudges. The final decision still resides with you, but it's almost like it can help you course correct along the way, and you don't end up. And like I'm just connecting it back to the first use case that we're talking about, which is like low fidelity, high fidelity connecting in terms of the output. Um, if if you're not aligned on low fidelity of how the output should look like, and you end up spending a lot of time, you create something and then you communicate back to other stakeholders, and they're like, oh, this was total waste of time. This was not at all what we envisioned. So I think that course correction is I feel one of the key use cases of this technology.
yeah. Just want to add that, yeah, like conventionally we think of detailing the problem as much and then going to a solution, and then we put in a lot of development effort to make that happen. But then it's like it doesn't work, and then there is another round of a series of iterations which happen, right? Ideally, like the problem and solution should evolve together, right? There has to be feedback, rapid feedback, to ensure that we minimize the effort to make something which is not needed, right? And to make that effort like this has economic value where you're reducing that the effort needed to make something which is not needed, because it's easy for even the non-designers to design something and communicate, right? And that's a very important aspect to this.
Yeah, I think maybe sometime last year saw a Figma plugin wherein I think it was by Dhwanil or someone, I don't remember, but yeah, you could just describe what you want in a component, which is, hey, I want a login form with these two fields, and like it just generated a mock-up in the UI. So like super useful just to put a visual and just ascertain, hey, yes, this is what I had in mind, or no, this is totally not what I had in mind. So you have a direction to go for. All right. One more cool thing that I like, since now I think I would definitely be a user of PromptHero. Just extending for a few minutes, I would like really appreciate if you can add some visuals in the prompts. I think I don't understand the nuances of the prompts yet, which is like, let's say you have like 3 prompts in a particular category. What will adding a particular prompt do? So if you can have some examples of visual images, which is, okay, this is what, like maybe have one common image, and then add this prompt, this becomes this second prompt. Like instead of prompts, if you have images, hey, more like this, less like this, and then make a text prompt. I think that
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. Like it's more like thumbnails and stuff, right? It's easy for people to imagine what the prompts are.
Yeah. Like I don't understand what vaporwave is. Like it might be on, but I don't understand what vaporwave is. Like I felt very intimidated. What are these nuances? I need to study a lot. All right. Any final questions from the audience? Else we'll wrap this up. I know we are a couple of minutes over, but yeah, this was too interesting. Yeah.
This was great. Thanks so much, Swapnil, for putting this together, and thank you to everyone. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, same here. I enjoyed a lot. I got a lot of things. So thanks to Shreyas, Alex, and I think we have Suraj, who was the third person on the team. So thanks to Suraj whenever he watches this. And yeah, thanks for agreeing to this fun distillation or like knowledge transfer of ideas. I think super helpful to start journey with. Going to stop recording now. I'll play some music if anyone wants to hang around. And yeah, thanks for showing up and asking good questions. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.